Well, my graphics card still isn't here. That's going to be a problem unless you want to hear someone with an indecipherable accent bitch about getting endlessly killed in Marathon. I mean, you may get that eventually, but not right now. So, tell you what, instead of succumbing to the malaise of rampant AIs and invading alien species with fucking grenade launchers, let's just go back. Way back. Specifically to 1963. The rampant optimism of the 50s has mostly died down by now, and in its place there is vast unrest about the future of the planet. It's not all bad though. The United States is figuring out a way to make all of their packages actually make it to their destination. Over in the UK, Eon Productions is trying to make lightning strike twice, and in Japan, they have begun broadcasting a completely new type of television show, which they hope will work out for them. It was a time when people were easier to shock. John Kennedy swearing an oath of office without a hat was enough for everyone else to consider whether they needed one. A time of Apollo when the Beach Boys, of helicopters landing in the middle of Manhattan and where kids who weren't cowboy crazy were kept looking at the stars by wild reports on their black and white news. Their parents, on the other hand, were rather more taken aback by the jet set.
Sky over the Atlantic.
Nowadays I can book a flight from London to New York for about $600, which is about what it would have cost back in the 60s, when a new Lincoln was $6,000 and pennies were good for something more than carrying diseases.
Lincoln Continental for $61.
Jet travel was reserved for the wealthy, to be wined and dined as their de Havilland Comets and Boeing 707s made them the fastest moving people on Earth.
Near sonic speed, but inside one of the most stunning discoveries. There is no feeling of movement at all.
Want to have breakfast with your wife in London and lunch with your lover in Rome? The jet engine made it so that you could do it all and still make it home by dinner. It's amongst these people that we'll meet our subject for today, a rather more agreeable member of the jet set, the very elusive Simon Templar. The Saint, based on a series of novels published by author Leslie Charteris, was a television show created by ITC Entertainment and which ran on ITV in the UK from 1962 to 1969. It starred future James Bond Roger Moore as the titular saint, a very well-to-do, debonair man about town who fought evil and helped the helpless in exotic locations around the world. Nowadays the production is mostly remembered for going a bit silly in later episodes and the fact that Roger supplied his own wardrobe and car for production. Still, solving 1960s problems would be a bit easier than getting a graphics card. So why don't we stick around 1963 and see what Mr. Templar was doing in, I don't know, October? The story opens in Montreal as Simon is watching a hockey game and musing about life.
It's funny how national sports tell so much about the character of a nation. In England, it's cricket and let's kill time with another cup of tea. In America, baseball and let's kill the umpire. As you say in Canada, it's ice hockey and let's kill everybody.
Naturally, it isn't long before his reputation catches up with him, as he's informed about his current position by a Montreal inspector.
I refer to the phenomenon of your sitting at this moment behind Bert Northway, the richest man in Montreal.
Bert there is sitting on one of the holy grails of 1960s technology, a gas turbine that you could fit in a car.
This is the first cheap, practical gas turbine engine that can power an automobile without requiring changes in body design.
Who can blame him for being so smug? He has the engine to trump them all. Small, inexpensive, efficient, environmentally friendly even before that was a concern. It will run on almost any flammable liquid from gasoline to rubbing alcohol to moonshine. On the better timeline for this planet would be using them right now, were it not for the fact that one of the few things it couldn't use as fuel was leaded gasoline and, more recently, that Jaguar decided that it hated money. Speaking of which...
Firstly, United Motors buys the invention outright from me for a sum of $4 million. And secondly, the deal is concluded and the contracts are signed within the next 3 days.
So we're on the verge of reaching that timeline. Who is getting screwed over?
I have a contract from the brilliant Dr. Northway that states that all rights in his invention are legally mine.
Legally they may be, but morally they're not.
I'm not interested in morality.
I'm to stand idly by while Frank gets taken, is that it?
That's it.
Oh, Bert, you can't. Frank is family, and there's Judith and Mary to think of.
Leave Mary out of this. She married him, she can live with him.
Is that why you're doing this? It is, isn't it?
Of course. So we have a setup, a douchebag, and an excuse. Let's add spying to the mix, as Bert notices that someone has been doing some snooping around. And when she is caught and escapes, guess who just so happens to be driving down the same road? It's a curse for the main characters, really. The Scooby-Doo gang never did manage to have that vacation on the beach either. Accused of trespassing, he's taken to the police station and questioned.
I should like the explanation of why you are in Montreal.
Since when does being in Montreal require an explanation? Way out on St. Lawrence Boulevard, there's a little restaurant called Chez Marie. Do you know it?
Oh, but of course.
Then you had her omelets.
Quel délice!
Gossamer skin of gold.
Oh, delicate.
Hey!
That's why I'm in Montreal. I was there last night. I'm going again tonight and tomorrow.
You will be kind enough to give Marie my regards. She moved to Vancouver 8 months ago. The restaurant is closed.
Touché. Au revoir, Inspector. Au revoir.
Realizing that he would be that easily outmaneuvered, he decides to send his best sergeant to follow Templar.
Bonjour. You are following me?
I am, monsieur.
Inspector Lavin's orders.
Oui, monsieur.
Well, since you are following me, you won't mind if I lead the way.
After you.
Merci.
Good, well, that's sorted out. Now to find whomever cut him off, and joy of joys, it just so happens that he sees the car in his hotel. One quick chat with the front desk and he finds her arguing with a waiter who only understands French.
Je ne parle pas anglais, mademoiselle.
Garçon, écoutez. Mademoiselle demande que vous mélangez 3 parties de rhum avec une partie de vermouth et un soupçon d'angosture, mélangé avec beaucoup de glace.
And the game is on, ladies and gentlemen, in just under a minute. I hope you're taking notes, everyone. Small wonder every police department on the planet has a blowout for the man.
In the words of the trade, I was casing the joint.
Why?
I want to commit a crime as soon as possible. My name is Judith Northwade. Bert Northwade is my uncle. It's his house I want to rob.
I don't think it warranted the full court, but sure, it's not used very often nowadays. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Bert isn't happy that Templar isn't rotting on the jail cell.
He was trespassing on my property.
He denies that. For the moment, let us assume that Templar was snooping around your house. Have you any idea what he could be after? Something specific?
Such as?
Not that he could care any less, as he's now enthralled by Judith. And why not? After all, wouldn't you like to spend some time with someone who is just committing crime after crime? It worked great in Casino, but we'll get to that in a bit. Right now she's just laying out her heart to Templar.
Well, for the last 2 years, Dad's been working on this gas turbine engine for cars. There's a fortune in it. But the research was expensive and Dad ran out of money.
I can see it coming. He went to Uncle Bert for help. How much?
$5,000.
And of course he put up the turbine as a security.
Yes. Plus a paper which says that all rights revert to Uncle Bert forever.
And that, kids, is why you hire a lawyer before signing things. Still, the story has indeed warmed Simon's heart. Unfortunately, standards and practices deem that leaving the restaurant together is as far as they will go. So instead of going where you, I, and Detective Lestrade here think it is, they instead go and meet Judith's father.
It's quite simple. I signed a contract. What's more, it's my own personal and private problem, and I'll thank the two of you not to interfere.
He seems pretty accepting of the fact he's not making a penny of his work, which reminds me.
Subscribe plug. Let me make this quite clear. If either one of you, or you alone, Judith, make any attempt whatsoever to get those plans back by dishonest means, I will inform the police myself.
Sounds like a tacit endorsement to me. So Simon decides that the best course of action is to just straight up go to Bert's house. Bring the detective along, of course, we don't want him getting in any trouble.
Your orders were to follow me.
Yes, but Inspector Levan feels somehow that you are annoying Monsieur Northwade, and it is my duty to...
Sergeant, I am only going to talk to him. I give him my word.
How can I refuse? I had the best dinner last night I've had in years.
There'll be more.
Well, so far he's the most competent police figure I've seen this week. And there you see why he can get away with it in his daily duties.
Mr. Northwade, he just brushed past me. Templar, I'll have you arrested for this.
Good luck with that. Inspector Javert is not arresting anyone that isn't on the pudding menu. Even his boss is appalled by it.
You fool! You imbecile!
Inspector...
Your orders were to follow him, not to let him out of your sight. He went to Bert Northwaite's house, right under your very nose.
But of course I went with him.
You what?
To make matters worse, he's now more committed than ever to break in. But maybe he won't have to.
Mrs. Northwade?
Mr. Templar, I've never been disloyal to my husband in my life. However, what he's doing to his brother is so wrong. I have to stop it.
Even with the key, he'll have to go through quite a lot of security. Night watchmen, shotguns, an angry old man. But first, he has to deal with Inspector Clouseau.
Always on duty.
I'm sorry to put you to all this trouble.
My instructions are to remain here all night.
I suppose there's no law against you coming in and having a nightcap with me, is it?
Well,
I have some excellent brandy.
in that case...
Oh, it's empty?
Oui, monsieur.
You'll find some more in the closet, would you mind? Yes, I'll hold. You'll find it at the back, behind my luggage.
Templar, let me out of here!
Working under the cover of the sunniest night of the year, Simon sets up to work. And then he gets on with the burglary. The welcoming party is up, and the only way he'll get out is with help from an insider.
Get him! Don't let him get...
Somehow not killing himself by going through 1960s plate glass, he then proceeds to have the 1960s TV show fight, all riveting and filled with action before climbing back in his car and driving away casually as if not to arouse the suspicion of the guards he's just knocked out. Well, everything turned out alright. By the time anyone manages to piece out what happened to the plans, his deal will be bust, Templar will be in... let's check with the next episode here. Ah, yes. And the auto manufacturers will have to find a new way of getting a design for a turbine. Come to think of it.
A policeman or a maniac could park like that. There's nobody in it.
He was afraid you'd go right into him.
What?
This is as far as I go, Simon.
Ha ha, oldest trick in the book. And the one almost guaranteed to always work on Bond.
Why, isn't that rather foolish?
No, they were the keys from your car.
Just a small problem with that. Bond is supposed to know what tricks work on him.
Blank paper!
What?
There's nothing.
Naturally, this upsets the thieves.
Dirty, cheap, rotten lowlife!
How dare you steal what I stole?
Oh, the plans. Well, if you let me up, I'll tell you. I mailed them to the real Dr. Northway tonight in Toronto. The fake ones I made up especially for you. You can keep them.
Well, there's few things to do now that the plans are out of reach. Simon should perhaps just cut the losses of everyone and just hand her over to the police.
Oh, your sergeant friend. I don't think the inspector will be very pleased.
On second thought, perhaps Montreal PD may be excused from this one. Should be out in 15 minutes. Then if there is a takeout restaurant en route to headquarters.
I'd better wake him up. The inspector will be here in 10 minutes. Which just gives you time to get out of town.
Would you advise me to, Simon?
Very strongly.
And so the episode ends with nobody going to prison and everyone living to fight another day. The turbine plants will likely be destroyed at some point in their trip to the rightful owner, guaranteeing the supremacy of gasoline for the rest of the century. The gas crisis in the 70s, unleaded, smog control, downsizing, and a slow stroll towards modern EVs and the dream of hydrogen vehicles. Good thing is we will also get the reduced need for mobility thanks to video conferencing, a great product of the rapid increase in computer power that I can't enjoy because I'm waiting for a GPU. Shit.